It's not like they're taking auditions, you know? It's not even a dream that I would have thought to have dreamed. Like, I know what I'll do. I'll worm my way into the Zack Brown band. Like, nobody's thinking that, you know?
So let's start by saying, Caroline Jones, welcome to iHeartRadio. We're so happy to have you here. And this is so exciting for us because it's a big week for you. We're congratulating you on your third studio album, Homesite. It's out now. How do you feel having this body of work out into the world?
Thank you, Emily. I feel great. I'm so excited. We've been working hard on this for, almost a year, like 9 months. And I'm super stoked that it's out in the world.
You're on tour with Zack Brown Band, and you're about to welcome a new member of the family. So this has got to be a really exciting time for you.
Yes, a lot is going on, and it's been in the works for a long time. So releasing this album, like you said, doing my own tour, being on tour with Zack Brown Band as a member, and then I'm about to have my first child. I am 9 months pregnant, which is nuts to say. But it's a very exciting time and a very busy time. I'm glad I laid all the groundwork this whole year.
I can imagine being on tour in general would be taxing and exhausting. I'm sure fun and challenging, all those things, but you have the added layer of you're also carrying a baby while you're doing it. Yes. Walk me through what that's like, being a touring musician and also being pregnant right now.
It is a wild ride. I would say overall, honestly, I just feel really, really lucky and really grateful because I have an amazing support system in my team and my family and my husband and the Zack Brown Band, the crew, the fans, like everyone has been so supportive and encouraging. Like I cannot overstate it. And I think it's important to acknowledge because I know that not all women have that experience when they choose to have a family. Especially in a career in an industry like this. And it was a very intentional decision that my husband and I thought about and deliberated over for a really long time because I love what I do so much and I don't, see myself slowing down. I see myself really at the beginning of my career still. And so I just feel really lucky to have that kind of support. And, there's hard moments. It's no joke, anyone thinking of getting pregnant is not for the faint of heart. But I would say overall, I've had a really good experience because I've been lucky to have a support system.
As a woman also in the entertainment industry, I've always been unsure of having kids or if I wanted to go down that route. So I really appreciated your candor and your honesty, especially like on your Instagram, talking about this was a big decision that you thought long and hard about. Ultimately, what was that moment for you where you said, okay, I actually think this is right for me at this time?
That's such a good and deep question. Yeah, I think it is important to talk about because I know that there were a few women, whether it be Carrie Underwood or Mary Morris or Sheryl Crow or Jewel or these women that I was able to look up to and model myself after who had kids and then maintained relevant careers and kept growing as artists. And it's one thing if you feel like, okay, I've kind of done my career, now I want to have a family. But like I said, I don't feel like that. I still feel super hungry and super excited about my career and growing as an artist, as a member of a touring band, as my own artist. And so it was a really hard decision. But I think to answer your question, the real decision maker for me, and as cheesy as it sounds and as cliche, it was love. Like I just fell in love with someone and my husband opened up a whole other perspective in me and believes in me and encouraged me and believes in my music and believes that he always used to say to me, he's like, if anyone can do it, like you can do it, like we can do this together. And I think you need that partnership if you're gonna have a career and have a baby as a woman. So like I said, it's love.
It's love. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. And you also mentioned the Zack Brown Band, and a lot of fans know you from that. But tell us a little bit about how you got started and how that came to be a part of the Zack Brown Band.
I started out opening for Zack Brown Band in 2017. That was my first major tour. Zack was the first superstar to take me under his wing and mentor me and offer me a slot on a big stage. Gosh, and I was pretty green, I'd been touring on my own for a few years, but never in front of thousands of people. And so I opened for them on and off for 3 years. And in 2021, post-pandemic, Zack called me and asked if I would come sit in on their first tour back, the comeback tour. I was shocked and honored and taken aback. I was like on stage with you? for the whole show. Like I couldn't understand.
Me with you.
Does
Yes.
not come true. Yeah. It's not like they're taking auditions, It's not even a dream that I would have thought to have dreamed. Like, I know what I'll do. I'll worm my way into the Zack Brown band. Like, nobody's thinking that, So I still kind of can't believe it. But it happened organically over time. And I feel lucky to have been invited into their inner circle and into their family, because it really is a family. And I feel like it's the challenge and the honor of my life and my career to try to contribute to that band with that caliber of musicianship on stage. It's like, what can I bring, and just trying to up my A game to be somewhere near in the vicinity of where they are one day,
I love it. Well, it's so fun to watch. And then of course we have Caroline Jones, your own music, Homesite, your new album. Like we said, we are going to do our fast track today. So we picked out a few favorite songs from your album. So you mentioned Zack Brown, and let's start with Million Little BandAids, which they're actually on this song. And so this was a special song that you had shown to Zack, right? Tell us the story behind it.
Yes. So this song is a pretty deep song. It's a song about kind of recognizing as you grow older that a lot of the defense mechanisms that we have developed as kids and then throughout our lives to kind of hide our imperfections and our weaknesses and our vulnerabilities and all of these things that we're taught to mask with, whether it be with our accomplishments or with our personalities or whatever it is, that when you want to have real relationships, you realize as you get older that all of those defense mechanisms just keep you from connecting with people. It's our weaknesses and our imperfections that make us human and make us able to connect with each other. The image that inspired the song was just imagining all of us adults as just hearts with a million little band-aids all over them, just like little wounds and little insecurities and little rejections that we've had over our whole lives, and how that really all it does is just make you a more unhappy person, and that it's hard to be honest, but it's worth it to learn. And Zack just really resonated with that message. So I actually wasn't planning on having them on it. I was about to release it, and I sent the mix to Zack and I said, what do you think of this mix? I kind of want to tweak X, Y, and Z. And he said, I want to produce this song with you and sing on it. And so it was a really full circle moment, because I've never had the band on one of my own songs.
I love that. And I love the message. I remember when I was first starting out this job, one of the best pieces of advice I got was a mentor saying, nobody likes perfect. And I think that's so true. It's like, as soon as you can let your guard down, or you can show a little bit more of yourself, the more people are going to connect with that. And I feel like that's the same sentiment. It
is. And it's a hard lesson for perfectionists. I'm a perfectionist and a performer, and it's hard to remember, but then you see it firsthand. Like when you do let your guard down, when you are vulnerable, you see how much more you connect with and relate to people.
And I think that's what we get. Let's go to your next track, Homesite, the name of the album, where I feel like we got a little peek into Caroline's life about, growing your career, your life, what that looks like. Tell me about writing this song and what this one means to you.
Well, this is one of the ones on the album that I co-wrote. I co-wrote this with Alex Klein and Scott Stepikoff. And this was a title and a chorus that I'd had for a while. I love the idea of homesite and also it being a metaphor, it being a person rather than a place. And this song really speaks to where I am in my life. It's about building. This whole record is about building. That's why I called it Homesite. It's about building my career and a fan base that I'm proud of, and building a body of work that I'm proud of. This is my third record now, and building a family for the first time in my life. And so this song really speaks to the latter part of that, to building something with someone. In this case, it's my husband, and having kind of always wanted to build something with someone, but the missing piece being the right person.
How did you meet your husband?
I met my husband during COVID.
You did? Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
We were set up by a friend. Yeah. So it was very, very serendipitous. I was not really dating for a few years in my career. I was super career focused, very ambitious. And then, he kind of fell out of the sky in the best way.
Was it love at first sight, after the first meeting, inseparable kind of vibes, or was it a slow burn?
I would say more the former. I wouldn't say it was love at first sight, because I was a little bit jaded. I wasn't really expecting to fall in love. The best way I can describe it is, it was like meeting your best friend. We just talked for hours and hours and hours, and I'd never met anyone like him or connected with anyone like him.
And then you talked about your career. We've got a little peek into your career journey. So then we have Superpower, which is the ups and downs. And I feel like we all feel this. It's like when you're working towards something, it's not a straight shot. It's not going to be something that's handed to you. It's hard. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So tell us about Superpower.
Yeah, Superpower, especially a few years into your career, I see a lot of people in this town get really jaded and cynical and really beaten down by the rejection that just is inevitable in this industry. You know, there's highs and there's, you know, creative fulfillment, and there's the exciting times and the successes. And then there's a lot of, like you said, blood, sweat, and tears, and rejection and doubt, and wondering if you're where you're supposed to be, and wondering, you know, why certain things haven't happened. I think that with time, you learn to constantly recommit to your dream. It's really who you are, which is what Superpower is about. It's like, this is who I am. I was telling my friend this a couple weeks ago, but like, I'd rather struggle in music my whole life than do anything else. Like, it's just who I am. If that's really who you are, then you need to really constantly recommit yourself to your dream and your purpose and your integrity, and not get too distracted. I think one of the big problems is that we just live in a world of so much distraction and so many misleading images of success online, like seeing everyone else and thinking that they're somewhere where you should be. I feel like that can be so discouraging and such a distraction. So having it be about the love of the music is really about what Superpower is about.
It's so interesting you say that, because I feel like the older I get, the more I've had to redefine what the term success means for me. I'm like, what is a successful life for me, honestly? And it might look different for every single person. So I'm curious for you at this point in your life, you know, with the career that you've had, the family you're building, what does success look like for you?
Gosh, well, if you ask me that in a year, I'm sure I'll have a really different perspective. So I can't really speak to having a family because I technically don't have one yet. But I will say that for me in my career, success has always been, and I was lucky that I was able to define it. As a young person, I had good mentors, but it's always been, if I can make records and tour and have a career like that for the rest of my life, that's what I want to do. I just want to play music for the people who want to hear it and who resonate with it, who my music touches. So my whole career has been about just trying to get to those people, to my tribe. And that's what's so cool about this time in music and in the digital space, is that you can create your own fan base and you can create your own path. And that's why I've played live so much. But yeah, if I can make records and tour for the rest of my life on whatever scale that is, that will be best for me, because I just love music.
Yeah. I mean, and talk about connecting with your fans. Let's go on to the next one. And this is one of my favorites on the album, Talking to Milo.
Yeah.
This is obviously a very, very personal song. Tell us the story behind this one.
Milo was my husband's brother, and he passed away in 2016. So I never knew him. So he would have been my brother-in-law. He was 13 years older than Nick. So he was like his hero, you know? And this song is a tribute to Milo, but the song is really about struggling with the decision to become a mother and to start a family, and the fears that I had. I know it's really natural for some people. They've always wanted kids, like sisters always wanted to get married and have kids. I really thought I would never get married or have kids. I thought I would be in my whole life.
The exact same boat.
So it was a big shift for me, and it was a big leap of faith to make that decision and to have those conversations with my husband. And if people watch the music video, they'll see a recreation of those conversations that really happened. That song is verbatim, those conversations really about those fears and doubts.
Thank you for sharing that. I know we talked about it at the top of the interview too, but I feel like you don't often see that side of it. But I'm so glad more and more women are talking about that, because I think it's a more common feeling than we all realize, especially for those of us who have felt this way. So I love it. So it's one of my favorites. And then talking about being a woman, I had to mention being a woman is like being the sun. Yeah. I love this one. And I love the band featured, the all-female bluegrass band.
All-female bluegrass band headed by Allison Brown, who's an amazing Grammy-winning bluegrass producer and banjo player. She tours with Steve Martin. I mean, but she's played with everyone. She's unbelievable. And she's a mother, which is really cool. She was one of the people who mentored me and helped me with that decision. But gosh, that song is really special to me. I'd been on a real bluegrass kick when I wrote it, so I wanted to write a bluegrass song. And I just love that metaphor, and it's a song dedicated to women and mothers and all the things that they and we juggle and the challenges that come with it.
And then the last one I want to mention is By Way of Sorrow, featuring Vince Gill. Yeah. And this is the only cover on the album. Why did you want to include it?
My friend Alyssa Bonagura showed me this song, and I just couldn't believe I hadn't heard it before. It's a Julie Miller song, and it just sounds, I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like it sounds like a bluegrass classic. Like, it just sounds like it could be in the country music, bluegrass American songbook, you know? And I just love the words. I mean, they just kill me. And We recorded it, and my producer, Brandon, said, you know who would be amazing on the song is Vince Gill. And I was like, oh, okay, that's great. Yeah, let's just call him up.
Casual.
Yeah. Brandon knows Vince. And I'd opened about a dozen shows for Vince in 2019. I'd opened his theater tour. But still, you never assume that they remember who you are. And so I was just so honored that he jumped on this song, because anyone who knows me knows that Vince Gill is just, he's in my Mount Rushmore of heroes. Like, he's top 5 for me as a musician, a songwriter, a singer, and just one of the most graceful and humble human beings in Nashville. He's just, I really model myself after him in all those ways.
And what a way to close out the album. That's so special.
It really is. I love that song. I'm so proud of it.
You touched on this, but again, you have Vince on the album, but you've also opened for so many major artists, Carrie Underwood, Kenny Chesney, the Eagles, and also the late, great Jimmy Buffett. And I wanted to ask you about Jimmy, because I know Jimmy was a mentor to you. What does Jimmy mean to you?
Gosh, well, I really owe the career that I have to Jimmy and Zack. Like, they are my 2 biggest mentors and champions. Jimmy took me on tour in 2018, 2019. He helped me release my first record, Bare Feet, on his record label. He wrote a song for me called Gulf Coast Girl that he featured on with Kenny Chesney and Mac McAnally and Lucas Nelson. Just being in his orbit, just being around his endless passion and energy at age 73, 74, 75, 76, when I was lucky enough to know him. It puts all the people that I know in Nashville that are my age, in their 20s and 30s, he just puts us all to shame. Like, I know, like I was saying, I know so many people who are in their 20s who are already jaded, already cynical, already over it, already discouraged. And you see someone like Jimmy Buffett, who's been touring for 50 years, and you see him so engaged in the set list and his fans' experience, in new marketing ideas, new business ideas, new ventures, new records. And then when he wasn't doing business or making music, he was surfing or sailing or flying planes. I mean, he's a model of the kind of juice that you can squeeze out of life. And I know that was his whole MO, and that's really who he was. And it's endlessly inspiring. I will never, ever forget his example. And I'll try to carry the torch.
We're so excited for you, Carolyn. Thank you again. We so appreciate your time, and congratulations again on Homesite.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thanks for the great interview.